Hi, this is Pamela Parker, Research Director of the Content Studio at Third Door Media. And I'm here to remind you that the Search Engine Land Awards are now open for entries. So get your team recognized for the outstanding work they do in search marketing. Visit this link to enter today, and good luck.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Very excited to be here with you. My name is James Wirth, and I'm the Senior Director of Strategy and Growth.
Hey, SMX, Garrett French here. I'm the owner of Citation Labs. We are so excited to be here today to talk with you about sales page link building.
Yes.
Somehow this, the sales page kind of got swept under the rug over the last, 20 years or so of link building. It really, it's the page where you can have the most impact with links, but it's also the page that's kind of the most difficult to approach in terms of process. How do we do this? And we've been doing this a lot lately. This is our bread and butter. This is how we do link building. And so we wanted to share that with you today. We've got, I think, some fantastic approaches, tools we built just for this type of effort. We're glad to have you. Thank you for joining us. Let's do this.
Okay, here we go. So something that's unique about sales landing pages specifically is we need to know what pages we're starting with, not something that's an issue with other link building tactics. And so a lot of times when we ask for that, our new clients who's just onboarding isn't quite sure where we should start. And so these are just some of the metrics we often use to pull into that conversation so we can analyze the competition with the right approach and the right data points and metrics and get to the point where we've got the right campaign that we built. In other cases, it's a little more straightforward, and it could just be the CMO walking into the office and saying, James, we need to sell more bikes. And so we can do that. We can approach it this way as well. And using, you can see the REI CMO, they're using one of our favorite brands as our example. We're going to load the REI bikes pages based on the edict from our CMO into our analysis tool. This is ours. It's called Link Launch. And so we've got a whole bunch of data here that we can start looking at. And so we can see here we can see our bike pages over on the side. We get a sense for what the opportunity is because we can see based on the 10 keywords that we loaded for each page, we can see what the search volume is, and we can start to compare that against the competition. And so one of the primary metrics here is domain gap, and this shows the difference between the number of unique referring domains that each of these pages has relative to the number of, on average, referring domains that the competitor set has. And the competitor set is built based on those 10 keywords that we pull in for each page. We also pull in the top 10 competitors by rank into the analysis as well. And that's what we're doing our comparison against. And so there's a good amount of detail here. We can look at where the average rank is as well. That helps size up the opportunities. And so we're looking at, we've got search volume, we've got our current rank, we know how we stack up in terms of the number of unique referring domains. And we also have a number of more qualitative metrics here as well. Page authority, I really like this one. It's rank driven, and so we get some good value. We can kind of compare our page authority to the competition. And this is interesting too. This is one of the callouts that we look for. Even though we have a gap in terms of the number of unique referring domains, the page authority on the REI pages is higher. That's a pretty interesting takeaway at this point. Maybe I don't need to close 100% of this gap potentially. That's kind of in the back of my mind. Although there are some other signals here that we want to look at. But one of these pages that looks really good because it's got good search volume, it's ranking pretty well already, so the page itself is strong and it doesn't have a massive link gap, is this women's bikes page. And so this is what we really want to target as one of our pages in the campaign. And as we get ready to kind of move forward with the parameters for this particular engagement, I'm also looking at this data to see if I can see any other trends I might want to factor in. And this is something that jumped out at me. The green is good, the red is bad. I know that's a little bit literal, but it helps me home in on where the takeaways are. And this is one of them. We've got the competition that seems to be earning or building, whichever one it is, more links to their pages at a faster pace. And also REI's links look like they're a little bit older on average than the competition. And with the shelf life being a part of Google's algorithm, I'm also aware of the age of our links as well. And so we've got our page. We know some of the things that are going in our favor. We have some things to watch out for, and that lets us kind of dial in the campaign for this particular page. We're going to build 8 links per month for at least 6 months. We've got our core target priority keywords here, and we've worked them into anchor text that we'll be able to use in the campaign. And at this point, I'm thinking from my perspective, it's pretty ready to turn over into operations and start building some links. What do you think, Garrett?
Yeah. Thanks for the handoff, James. This does look good. We have a clear sense of where we're going, what we need to accomplish here at, on the operations side. So we know we need close to 50 links here. We know the keywords we want to be ranking for, obviously, but then also this gives us some sense of the kinds of context we want to be writing into, whether we're creating long form, off-page guides, etc. What's missing, though, is some more detailed understanding of what we call and think of as the purchase decision stakeholders. And let me speak briefly about these stakeholders before we move forward. Stakeholders are the folks who are involved in the purchase decision, who are advisors on the purchase decision, who are affected by the purchase decision. And so with a bike that, look at the keywords here that we're targeting, we're probably targeting the buyer, right? Like the person, the individual who's going to be buying it or really wants to buy it. But that person is not in all likelihood, not the only stakeholder of the budget for that bicycle. Right? These are probably household bicycles or bicycles for a household. And so when we really start to think about the context of the purchase decision, the use cases, that's when we really can come up with some different approaches and context for off-page link building, as well as on-page additions that we could make that also enable more efficient purchase decisions for all the stakeholders that we're talking about. Now, this is not evident on this page here, all right? And we've arrived at all of this elaborate approach to kind of unpacking stakeholders because of B2B. Thanks a lot, B2B. We're really forced into this place of how do we understand who's involved here? How do we understand the context of how these offerings or these products or these services are being utilized? And where does the benefit and value happen? And who pays for this benefit or value along the way? And so that's led us to really trying to understand stakeholders, purchase decision stakeholders. And this is where on the sales page, your ideas for on-page additions to content, as well as off-page content as well, really comes from. And so this is our approach. This is our process. You find the landing page of stakeholders. You identify their frequently unasked questions or their infrequently answered questions. All right, this is questions that are difficult to answer or not necessarily clear or kind of a spec related question they might have. And then we're going to get into actually building links with all these lovely frequently unasked questions. So let's dig in. Finding your landing page stakeholders. Who are these folks? How do we do it? Well, we start with we start with AI. I've been working at a process and an approach to kind of unpacking the stakeholder audiences. Really, frankly, for most of my career. But it's really been the last 5-6 years that I've really been focused on this. As we've gone into sales page link building, we needed to understand this. This is a different space than, different people we're pitching to, different audiences than like a digital PR or even, I don't know if anybody remembers links and resource page link building, the linker valued audiences. But when you're building links to sales pages, you need to be able to unpack as quickly as possible. And so it's been, it was a great relief to me when ChatGPT came out because it really sped up this research process. How do you predict who these stakeholders might be? Well, we have a series of prompts. We have links for you after this session, but we have a series of prompts we use to kind of unpack and understand who all these stakeholders might be. And we go back to our clients and we validate these perspectives. Are these really our stakeholders? Do these people, do these roles make sense? So we see stakeholder categories in these, we see there being 4 major stakeholder categories: user, purchase decider. So users are, usually fairly obvious, and we oftentimes see that the user is the primary focus for, what keywords are we going to be targeting, what content should we have on the page. That we really hyper focus on the user, and
Yeah,
for
often the
good
only
reason. Yeah,
focus. Yeah.
Usually the only focus. That's not a bad thing, but for a link builder, it can leave you a little monodimensional. So we also see that there's purchase deciders. This is another one of our categories: purchase advisors, and then other purchase affected parties. There are other approaches to kind of splitting this out. I think B2B folks have a lot of different kinds of models they use for unpacking the complex parties involved in a sale or in a purchase decision. But these are the ones we found to be the most helpful for kind of understanding any individual offering that's for sale. These are the 4 types of groups that are involved. So now we're going to run through these for the women's bike category page on REI. We have the user category role, which is a writer. Purchase deciders from our predictions would be the writer and the household budgetary partner. The purchase advisors could be subject matter experts, probably ideally in-house at REI, but potentially external experts on fitness, safety, finances, maintenance, personal relationships. We'll dig in more on that later. Then specific use cases. Purchase affected parties, we see, or we predict that they would be the writer themselves, their household partner, or their household members, such as children, and certainly the community at large. The even broader, the environment. So what do we do next? We've identified the stakeholders, or the stakeholder roles. We know their categories. Now we know their roles. What do we do next? Well, we utilize prompts to figure out or determine or predict their unasked questions. What are folks not asking but should ask when they're in the purchase decision stage of their journey, right? Like the purchase journey. So what should they be asking but don't know to, forget to, don't have the experience to ask, don't believe they will get a useful answer? These are all the kinds of questions that we want to understand as link builders. Wait, am I an on-page sales expert? Well, not really, but this is all from this is all from a link building perspective, guys. And the reason we ask all these questions, we dig in so deep on the stakeholders, is because if we're finding genuinely useful information for stakeholders, we have an amazing linking opportunity here. And so here's where some of these kinds of understandings of these facets really comes from. And we see, these are the types of questions that stakeholders frequently don't ask or don't expect useful answers from. So diagnostics. How do I really understand my needs here? What are the actual needs? We could think about the pain to solution fit. Does this offering that I'm looking at on this page genuinely actually meet the needs that I have? We want to really thoroughly address the total costs of ownership. From a bike perspective, implementation could be things like, if you're going from couch to biking, or active biker, how long is it going to take to not feel pain every morning?
Break things in, yeah, for sure.
What does maintenance look like? Here's how to change a tire. Do you know how to do this? Do you know what kinds of equipment you're going to need? Do you have the water bottles? Do you have all the tools you're going to need? We could be thinking about worst case scenarios as well. How do we minimize these? What are some of the best case scenarios? Now, frequently we'll see best case scenarios addressed on sales pages. but it's also, and some of this stuff could be a little painful it might disrupt the flow of commerce. You don't want to reduce the conversion rate on your sales pages here, but you do also need to enable link building. And if all of your efforts and all of your thinking is around positively impacting the purchase decision efficiency, that is, you're hyper-focused on providing the best possible outcomes for your site visitors, the purchase decision outcomes, you're in the right place, right? You're thinking correctly on behalf of your customers.
And as you'll see through some of these examples, we focus on more the proactive solution for preventing the worst case scenario, not the worst case scenario itself. So there's a good way to balance this out here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly, they certainly come back fairly dark sometimes from chat. So you kind of have to, you have to address that. So here we're going to, in this stage of our presentation, we're going through the various stakeholder roles that we've identified. Only 4 of them. There were probably 15 or 20 that we identified. We've handpicked these. We've handpicked a single frequently unasked question from one of the various categories. And so this is just to give you a sense of the overall scope of the kinds of results that come back from this kind of an effort. Okay. Frequently unasked question here for the writer who's in the user category. This is the role within the user category. How do I address the difference between the bike that I want and the bike I actually need? Key place here, this is a lifelong challenge, right? But this is a place where if the household budgetary partner is just hearing what I want versus what my needs actually are, I might be met with a bit more scrutiny or skepticism around this purchase decision. And this is not just true in household partnerships, but in really any kind of business scenario as well. Are we just super excited about ChatGPT because it's shiny and lovely, or is it genuinely saving us time? Is it genuinely saving us effort? Okay. So here, the answer that we propose is enabling the writer or the user to answer this, to genuinely understand how they would notice performance differences in the bicycle that they really love, that they've fallen in love with. Where and how would they notice the differences? And this is we're selling bikes online. This is, they can't touch it yet. They can't see it or really actually hold it or feel the handle in their hands. So we have to do a lot more work to help them understand performance, help the potential buyer understand performance. So now we're going to move ahead. This is another hypothetical type of content we could create here. But we're digging in now on the purchase advisor role. This would be a purchase advisor who's an expert in personal relationships. This advisor would be advising the non-writing budgetary stakeholder. Okay, so how do you handle the intense passion and excitement and enthusiasm of your partner who wants this bike so bad?
And spent months researching and so excited about all the pro features.
In love. In love with his bicycle. How do you handle this? How do you have strong relationship boundaries, right? So that you're ensuring that the household finances are not unduly affected. This is a big deal. This is a fraught place in any relationship. Yeah. This is tough. And this is also tough in business as well, right? This isn't just, we really, it's easy to think about it from this perspective of a partnership or a household partnership, but there are similar kinds of partnerships, within or similar dynamics around enthusiasm for spending money versus concern and anguish over spending money within every business as well. And so we're really trying to answer this question of how do we find this happy middle? How do we make sure that everyone's needs are understood and being met? And so that would be guidance that we think REI should absolutely have on the site, potentially even on the page. how to have difficult discussions with your partner, right? About the bike of their dreams, because you don't want to
Yes.
squash dreams, right? You don't want
We
to.
don't want to squash dreams. We also don't want to squash link builder and SEO dreams as well.
Right.
And one of the challenges that we often run into, especially with larger organizations, is you can't touch the PLPs and the PDPs. Hands off the sales landing pages.
Right.
When we think about you, Garrett, you made some great call outs about not being able to touch the handlebars or sit on the seat. We also don't have the salesperson there with us as we're meandering through the aisles of these bikes.
Right.
Wiping the saliva away from the corners of our mouth because we're so excited about this purchase. And we can say to them, what question should I be asking now about this decision to make sure I get the right bike, but I haven't thought of it yet. Help me out here. So we don't have that. That's why one of the reasons I think frequently unasked questions and this approach are so powerful. We have great stuff to share about it.
Absolutely. And another role here, another purchase advisor, this would be someone with experience, deep experience, ideally, in biking with kids. And really, for this use case, on-page and off-page content use case, we would want to have a wide variety of experts having chimed in, from REI members to people who are trained at this, training people on riding safely, especially children. Because I have a problem, which is that I am very afraid of my children getting hurt on bikes, and I've got 3 kids, and we've never taken a family bike ride. How could REI help me with that fear? My partner says, "Hey, let's get bikes for the family." I say, "No way in hell. I'm not comfortable with that." So how could my partner come to me with data, with guidance, with advice? Hey, this is how we do it safely. And some of this stuff could be, absolutely guidance and advice from members who've done this before, right? Experts who can provide best practices, surveys with members, and local information too. Where is the safest place to have your first family bike ride? If I have all this stuff in place, I might be more comfortable saying yes to that overall.
Yes. And the irony is that REI has a huge focus on safety, on family participation, on all of these things. It's just not living on the product listing page when I searched for a woman's bikes and I landed on that page, it ranks relatively well. I could certainly see that page. It's just a just straight page of bikes that are available for me to click into and look at the individual product pages plus some related articles. There's a huge opportunity because I know, as with my visit, especially as an unbranded visit looking just for women's bikes, not REI, I might visit 2, maybe 3 pages on that site before I make my decision to either buy or not buy from REI. And so there's a huge opportunity to get this content surfaced on their pages.
And this functions to an extent as kind of a best case scenario, right? This is a selling the dream, getting the family involved in bike riding.
Selling the dream.
And and I feel like that's a key important place for REI to be here. This is best case scenario content, enabling the page visitor to encourage an entire family ride. I think that could be an absolute great opportunity for REI on this page, and then also for building links to this page as well. Lastly, our last example here is the purchase affected party. All right, this is we would think of this as the environment and household partner roles within the purchase affected party category of stakeholders. What are we talking about here? Okay, so if the rider, the person who deeply desires this bicycle, were able to create a riding plan, an errand management plan for their bicycle, they're going to be riding it to work, they're going to be getting groceries, getting the laundry, picking up the kids, and they know all the tools they're going to need. And if they knew the frequency and distances of all these errands, it was all mapped into a tool. Well, REI could really do a great job then of suggesting bicycles that would have the best possible performance for these errands. REI could also say, hey, what car do you have right now? Well, here's our predictions on how much gas you're going to be saving. Are you going to be reducing your carbon footprint? Even if you did a minimum viable, like just the weekend errands, right? Just groceries, what impact could we have with a bicycle, with a trailer, with the right equipment for this bicycle, with the right bicycle itself? What kind of impact could we have? How long would it take to pay for this bike if we have if we're really saving money on gas? This really changes the discussion now. We're having a really different discussion with our partner around what how, the material impact on the home. We're gonna be running errands. The material impact on finances. We're gonna be saving money on gas. Material impact on the environment and the community. Wow, this should live on that page. I know
Talk
REI
about
is kind of an adventure. It's an adventure lifestyle kind of brand, so maybe errands isn't that adventurous. But I mean, hey, let's try to make errands a little more adventurous.
Oh,
Make
I
them
think,
more
yeah,
fun.
this would fit really well for and talk about total cost of ownership and
Yeah,
informing that discussion with
yeah,
my budgetary partner. Wow, this
right.
could be really, really powerful.
Right. Total return of ownership too.
Yeah.
We could probably tease that out some. Here's the value or the impact that this bike could have over a lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay. We've been talking about frequently unasked questions. We talked about the categories. We talked about the roles within the categories. We talked about the facets of the questions, the diagnostics, total cost of ownership, best case scenario, worst case scenario. All of this contributes to on and off page enablements of things like purchase decision consensus. This is a good thing to be contributing to. Implementation road mapping. What is it really going to take to achieve benefit? How do we make sure that people are aspiring to the best possible outcomes? How do we make sure they're preparing for the worst case outcomes with things like safety equipment? This is a powerful approach to thinking about content. It's all enabled by ChatGPT. Again, prompts after the discussion. Everything's there. You guys can run your URLs through this approach and really develop concepts for content that lives off page, that could live on page, that's going to impact the purchase decision. It's going to impact the perception that visitors have about your brand, about how much your brand cares about the other stakeholding parties, not just the user, not just the buyer. You're going to establish trust by demonstrating your capacity to understand implementation. This is really powerful stuff, and it also helps with link building. So let's get into that.
All right, we've got
Why
about
we're
2.5 minutes left, so let's jump right in.
So we focused on the writer, we focused on the budgetary partner here, and we're thinking about on-page elements that can live on the category page and really help identify the needs. This is a diagnostics tool where I've input my writing use cases, whether I'm going to be running errands, the existing bicycle I have, the existing car I have. REI can do a lot of work here to build out a calculator, essentially to help me find my perfect bicycle. So this is an example of what could live on the PLP, on this category page. We could be building links directly to this tool, this widget on the page that could help our visitors make the most effective purchase decisions with the bicycle that they really actually need. And then also the tool could help them compare their needs to their existing bicycle and suggest component upgrades. Hey, you don't ask, to achieve the performance of the bicycle you want, you could be buying a handful of components and installing them and achieving the same thing. Really changes the discussion you might be having with your budgetary partner. Our goal here, obviously, is creating content that's useful. It's rich media, engaging, that directly addresses your money or your life signals, and really creates content that establishes credibility and an understanding on REI's part of the whole scope of your use case, the stakeholders involved, where you're going to be writing, and it really impacts your purchase decision confidence, how comfortable and confident you are in making this decision. And here's how we build links with this stuff, guys. Here's the actual part, all right? So from our perspective, we think the relationship side here is one that's under discussed and under addressed. There are often kind of mismatches in enthusiasm around outdoor activities. So you got one person who's an obsessive biker in a partnership and one person who isn't. So we think there's an opportunity to address discussing these disparities in the media, whether that's niche outdoor lifestyle publications, whether that's broader public mainstream media. All of this kind of content is under discussed, and it's fraught with potential relationship challenges, with fights.
Yeah, no
There's a lot of potential fights here,
Right.
a lot of hot spots. How do you manage this, right? We think REI should be at the forefront of that, of addressing this disparity, and also enable building links to the widgets that they have on their landing pages within this discussion and discourse that they're starting and enabling in the media. We think they should be sponsoring events as well, women's bike riding events for sure for this page specifically. Go through all these this approach, and you'll find that you're soon building links organically. The link gap is going to close itself with when there's great content on there. To some extent, you should absolutely be building links too. How often, when do you stop? When do you know how to stop? Well, you're going to close your link gap, and you're absolutely going to be tracking your impact all along the route. And I really want James to talk about that in the time we have left and close us out with impact.
Absolutely. So we know we had about 50 links that we identified as our budget for this particular page. We're going to build those and track our impact, and that's really what this is all about. So the question that we want to end with answering is, the question is, does it work? And if we look at this data, and this is I just grabbed a few things that we show to our clients on a monthly basis, so we can see the scorecards up at the top. And we can see the month over month change compared to the previous month. We get some nice time series visuals represented in these graphs. Page authority, which we really like as an authority metric. That's the one that we focus the most on because it's great for comparative analysis to a set of other pages that are not part of the campaign, or directly to our competitors as our control group as well. And then of course we track a number of cohorts in terms of average rank across different segments. And this is what we're really getting to at the end of the month is, are we driving impact for our clients? Are we driving positive ROI, which is also something that's built into our new link gap analysis and sort of everything mission control related link launch. And so we're very excited to offer that as a public beta. Please sign up. We also have Citation Labs newsletter here, which Garrett has written extensively about these stakeholders and the methodology behind it, which he's developed over the last several years. And so we'd love for you to jump into that. Please connect with us on LinkedIn. And also, we've got all the prompts that Garrett walked through today in a quick start guide, which you also can follow along with there. Any final closing thoughts, Garrett?
Just want to thank everybody. We're trying to move link building into a place where we can be held accountable for ROI. All right, and it happens so frequently that link building is kind of the last thing that gets considered, the last thing that we think about putting budget towards. And when we really focus on individual pages, on actual ROI for those pages, that's when we really see budgets open up. That's when we see CMOs become engaged with SEO and link building. It's just very uncommon for CMOs at an enterprise to actually get engaged or involved with link building. And when we're demonstrating ROI, when we're showing what happens on the page that we've built links to, that's when the magic happens. We'd love to talk with you more about it. Hit us up on LinkedIn. Send us an email. We'd love to talk more about this. We really enjoy talking shop. Hit us up, guys. We want to talk. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Let's build some links. Take care.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Click the agenda link at the top of your screen to choose your next session.